Decided to redo my connection for my VTX camera into my DOSD. So this is what I'm going by. I've posted it online a couple times or whatnot. Basically, if I want to power the DOSD from a separate battery, just run a JST. And we've got the camera, the VTX, coming in and going to the OSD. So basically, our camera and VTX are going to be tapped into the main the power line from our battery. There's a little switch that you have to do because on the DOSD, the 3-pin configuration is camera, ground, and VTX. There's no power going into the OSD from that side, so just you have to make sure that from your OSD out, it's just signal, ground, and another signal. Each signal, one for your camera and one for the VTX. I pretty much got it laid out. So this is going to be the camera, this is the VTX, and this is my JST through the middle, and this is going to be going to the OSD. Right, like so. So I have to tin all these wires, and then we'll start putting our our different size heat shrink on and get that ready. Get some solderer on all the wires here. I'll show you after. I just had to switch around one of the cables that goes into the OSD. Because as I was saying, it's signal, ground, signal. One signal's for the camera, one signal's for the VTX, and obviously the center is our ground. So we'll just finish tinning these wires. So for going into the OSD, I switched the ground and the positive. But now this positive is going to run to the signal of the VTX. Okay. Okay, just one more now, just to tin this. Some people prefer to put a servo lead into the OSD, so you could easily do that for this one. You can just get a normal servo lead, female, like that, and just have the positive and negative, and just tap that to your other, like so. Just basically replace that with the servo lead with just positive and negative. But as of right now, I'm not going to do that. I'll just use the JST. I'm powering the OSD anyways right now from the current sensor. So this is actually not going to be plugged into the OSD. So we'll get some heat shrink on here now. We'll just make sure we're going to solder. I usually start with the inside and work my way out. I am going to make sure I solder everything this way so I can slide it on after. So basically, first I'm going to put my negatives together. I'll just start that way and then put my positives and make sure my positive from this is actually going to my signal to this. because remember I switched them around and there's no, I don't want no positive, so I'm going to substitute the positive wire, which would normally be a positive wire, to the signal, right? Because we got signal, ground, signal into our DOSD. Okay. So, as saying, we'll start with our negative. Or negatives, because there's going to be multiple. You can see this here. And the fridge behind me makes a nice bit of noise here and there. So we'll just tap that in. We need our negative from our VTX and the negative from our camera, because everything is going to be basically powered from the battery out to both camera and VTX. Okay, let's see if we can get this situated. Gotta be pretty quick here with the heat. I'm just using my my 40-watt iron here. That's our camera, negative, or our VTX, sorry. Now next is our camera. We'll just make sure this gets a little bit more solder on this. So basically that's our 3 negatives. Tapped into one, just gonna double check the connection here. It's pretty good. This is where it kind of gets a little bit, once you start putting everything together. Okay, we'll just keep everything separated and you should be fine. Sure, but I was right. The heat shrink that I used is a little bit too small, so all this got to come apart. So we'll go with this size here. It should be pretty good. Cut it in half. Try this. This time I'm going to wrap my 2 JST negatives together first. I'm just going to twist them around a little bit. Lastly, we need to put our OSD negative, right, which is the one in the center. You can see that? And we're going to have our 2 signals. That's why I switched them around, because in the like I was saying, in the OSD it's the VTX signal, negative, and camera signal, right? Let's see if we can get this in here without everything coming apart. Looks pretty good. A little bit more solder in here. Heat this up a little bit, a little lighter. There we go. So now I'm going to put my positives together from the camera and VTX. Now it looks like a bit of a tangle here, so this is my OSD, so that goes to the side. So next is, I'm just going to twist this up if I can. They're fairly sharp when they're tinned, and you can easily pin your finger. Now before I start, I just got this wrapped up. I forgot to put my heat shrink on. That always happens. Over their tin, I'm going to load it up with solder CN. And I'm just going to melt back this here a little bit, because give more of a surface to put the other two connections on. That, I'll let that cool. I'm going to flip it over because usually the bead of solder likes to go to the other side. And it'll make it easier to put our positives on from our camera and VTX, and that is it. Just to verify and make sure that's our VTX positive, and not our OSD, but our camera positive. So that means when we plug our battery in, it's going to feed power to our VTX and camera. Looks like a pretty good connection. Put our heat shrink over. So now our signals need to go together. This is into our OSD. So now, I don't recall what is the outside pin on the OSD, but if it's backwards, I'll just plug this in back. As long as there's no power into your OSD and your negative is in the center, right? I can always flip that around, and just as a mental note, when I remember which is which, I will make sure like the red or the white is on the outer pin, but usually once I install it, I'll remember. So we're going to go with this one. So for this, a small piece of heat shrink will be fine, because we're only putting a single connection. Okay, and our ground is already tied into our main ground. Right. So this is our signal from our OSD, or I should say from our camera to our OSD. Alright, and we got one more, but this time it's going to go to the red one, which will be our VTX signal. Just because it's colored red doesn't mean it's got to be power. Yeah, let's see, before we go any further, put some heat shrink on. So, and make sure we're not totally tangled up. Heat from the bottom. Hold that. Put that over like so. And that's pretty much it. So basically, camera and our VTX, and our power, and we're going to go that into the OSD. And if I want to power the OSD via that battery, I can just plug that into the J1 and remove the jumper. So we'll just try to straighten this out a little bit. get our heat shrink on. Sure this is going to be long enough. Yeah, looks pretty good. We can get all this snugged in here. A little bit of a tangle, but I'm going to twist these wires up a bit. Just make it a little bit tidier. Like that. Go. You can always do a continuity test after, just to make sure you're not putting any power into the OSD. But I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure I didn't tap that OSD red into the. There we go. It's a quick and easy connection for your Dragon Link OSD. So, thanks for watching, and see you later.